Yes, good afternoon. So we are live now, and we'll just start this webinar today on changing landscapes of the legal profession. Hi, Samantha. Hi, Gaurav. Hi, Dr. Singh. Uh, it's now exactly 2:30 here in Dubai and 4 in India. So we'll just wait for another 2 minutes. Maybe we can have some more attendees before we start the session. And then, I'll introduce the team here, and then we'll go on the topic. Another a minute more, please. And thank you for joining. I mean, really appreciate the team on sparing their time on a weekend on a Saturday. Right. So just one more minute. So we will start. Good afternoon, friends. My name is Farad Ali Khan. I am the managing partner for Century Maxim International, and along with Century Maxim International, we have Middlesex University, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun, and Mr. Gaurav Mendiratta from Marico. So our guest speakers are Samantha Roberts is from the Middlesex University. She is a graduate and MA in ethics and law. Samantha has over 10 years experience in as a lecturer for various UK universities. She's been awarded a senior fellowship status by the Higher Education Academy of the UK. Prior to joining Middlesex, Samantha has been with Coventry University, BPP University, University of Westminster, and the Birkbeck College, University of London. I have Dr. Vijay Kumar Singh. Dr. Singh is a doctorate in law, brings him 15 years of experience in the legal profession. An academician, he's been with the UPS for the last 4 years, prior to which he served as a Deputy Director Law with the Competition Commission of India. Wow. So he's actively contributed to amendments in general regulations and competition regulations, and is also a member of the working group formulating the regulations for insolvency professionals agencies under the IBC of 2016. That's one of the most discussed topics in India now, the IBC. With me is Mr. Gaurav Mendiratta. He is the Chief Legal Officer, the General Counsel for Marico India Limited, which is one of leading consumer products companies of India. Gaurav has more than 20 years of experience in the legal and compliance domain, mitigating and managing matters relating to litigation, competition, employment, industrial, food, environment, IPR protections, contracts, M&A, and commercial. Mr. Mendiratta also serves as a member of the legal committee of Indian Beauty and Hygiene Association, as well as the Cosmetics Regulatory Committee of FICCI, and is an active member of CII, National Committee on Food Processing Industries. And thank you, presenters. Along with me, I am Farad Ali Khan, representing Century Maxim International, a legal consultancy firm based out of UAE, and a full-service law firm having an office in Delhi. Good afternoon, audience. Good afternoon, friends. On behalf of Century Maxim, I welcome you to our fourth webinar. With the presenters, we will discuss on changing landscapes in the legal profession. Now, as we discuss changing landscapes in the legal profession, let us quickly understand what are these changing landscapes. If I would have to answer you in simple words, it is basically the new industries that have developed and how laws that have been enacted and are being practiced in compatibility to these industries and to various business practice that have, business practices that have been developed. So let's say, for example, e-commerce, which is one of the largest known and practiced business industry as of now. But e-commerce, if we see technically and legally, it is a platform on which general trading is conducted. A product is bought, a product is sold. But this trading entirely depends on a very new format of law. I mean, it has a massive IT system which makes it run, and there is a large amount of AI and fintech technology that requires, to support the functioning of the e-commerce activities. So, this is how we'll discuss how there has been a transformation in the, landscapes of legal profession in the past 10, 15 years. And today we will discuss this for our audience. So one point I would like to mention here that, at CMI, we've done webinars in the past. But this one is a bit different, special, because this is not at all, we do not focus to promote any format of services. The idea, the logic behind this webinar is to educate young professionals of law, students of law, and legal and business professionals who may be interested to learn how new evolving practices of law have taken shape. So, I mean, for example, if I would say when 20 years ago, I went to the law school for the first time. So there were this basic conventional practice area of, either I could be a civil lawyer, I could be a commercial lawyer, I could be a criminal lawyer. If I would have to specialize myself, I may prefer becoming a taxation lawyer, or I may prefer becoming an IPR lawyer. But 20 years ago, we never had any cyber laws in existence. In most of the parts of the world, I mean, I think UK was the first country to bring cyber laws in 1996. Which governed and regulated the functioning of the internet. So likewise, in 20 years, we've got massive amount of new landscapes in the legal profession that have developed, that have evolved, and is now being practiced across industries, across business houses, and is extremely, extremely important. So as I hand over to Samantha, our first speaker for this webinar, so there's a slight change here in our webinar this time. What we will do is we will be taking up questions during the session also. You will not have to wait for the session to end. You may keep asking questions if you would have any questions relevant to any of the speakers, and then we'll try and answer you during the once the speaker is finished. So Samantha, please, if you can start from now and explain how in the current times we can talk about enhancing skills, what career prospects or what super specialized practices at the university level that you've been engaged in educating the students of law. Go ahead, Samantha, please.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much to Century Maxim for having me, and to my fellow guest speakers. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. My name is Samantha Roberts. I am the Programme Coordinator for all of undergraduate law and politics at Middlesex University, Dubai. So we are a UK university, and we offer the only UK qualifying law degree in the region. Usually, in order to get a UK qualifying law degree, you would need to study in the UK itself. But we offer one right here in Dubai. And because of the changing landscape of UK law, our students who graduate from our program will be able to qualify as UK solicitors without ever having to leave Dubai. Because following your 3-year bachelor's program, you would complete 1 year of study doing a solicitor's qualifying exam, and 2 years of practical work experience that could be signed off by a solicitor, and you would be qualified as a UK lawyer. So that's one really exciting development that's happened in the UK recently. So you would be able to study with us, you'd be able to graduate, and you'd be able to qualify as a UK lawyer without ever leaving the UAE. In addition to our very exciting undergraduate programs, all of our undergraduate programs are qualifying law degrees. They're all based in UK common law. We have specialist pathways, one in international relations, another that focuses specifically on commercial law, and finally, our newest program is Law with Criminology. And these are growing areas, particularly in this region. And so we're really excited to be able to offer students the opportunity to get a qualifying law degree whilst also having some kind of specialism in a growing area. At the postgraduate level, we offer 3 different Master of Laws programs. We have 3 LLMs. The first is a general LLM, and the others are in international law and international business law. And these really do focus on some exciting developing areas. We have modules that cover law and policy of the World Trade Organization, the law of the international sale of goods, foundations and principles of international law. We also focus on very growing areas, including international commercial litigation and arbitration, as well as international organizations and international dispute resolution. And arbitration is particularly a growing area of law in this region, and we are hoping and very excited to be launching an LLM in arbitration, but not until September 2022. So if you are interested in perhaps pursuing your master's degree and something like arbitration is of interest to you as such a growing area of practice, maybe that's something you'd keep in mind for the future. So those are our academic programs, but what we're really focused on here at Middlesex University Dubai is preparing students for practice, making sure that our students, when they graduate, are able to go and get jobs and they're able to go. We have a variety of really exciting initiatives that enable to help our students develop the skills that they need in order to prepare them for exciting careers. Of course, we moot. Every good university should and does. We participated in a number of moots. We take a team to Vienna every year for the Willem Vismoot, which is the largest international commercial arbitration moot in the world. We've also participated in the Jessup moot, which is the largest moot in the world, and we were actually the UAE victors in 2019, and we went all the way to Washington, D.C. to represent the UAE at the Jessup. We recently proceeded to the quarterfinals of the International Children's Rights Moot Court. And so we've got a really active mooting society. We have internal competitions in arbitration, negotiation, always with coaches from the industry, always with amazing lawyers giving us their time. They also give their time to us in our Law Career Clinic, which is a bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, we have some kind of session, whether it be on preparing for interviews, securing a job after graduation, your CV writing skills, doing your resume, all of these things. We have really amazing links with the industry right here in Dubai. And so we have these regular sessions to help everyone prepare for their future. We also have a Future Lawyers Network, which is a partnership with Microsoft and international law firm Bird & Bird. And we meet on a monthly basis and host panel events with some really exceptional leading lawyers. And it also includes our mentoring scheme, where our best and brightest students are paired with lawyers from industry to be their mentor for an academic year. This means that you could be paired with the managing partner of an international law firm who would be your personal mentor for a year. And some of our students have really maintained relationships with their mentors, and they've helped them with securing their graduate jobs. They continue to mentor them as early career lawyers. We also have the Law Firm Project, which is a simulation whereby lawyers from the industry, we've had lawyers from Emirates, we've had lawyers from very large international law firms, come to campus and they pose as clients. And our students work in teams together of all mixed stages of their education to interview their clients, go away and do legal research, as well as drafting a memo and giving advice to their client. This really simulates legal practice and helps you to prepare for your future as a lawyer. We also offer personal tutoring and peer mentoring, which means that you are always going to be supported in your transition from high school to university study, or in your changing university journey if you're switching from one type of study to another. I know that UK universities function rather differently to lots of universities around the world. So we have all of these things in place to help that transition and to help prepare you for your future practice. We also offer a summer internship scheme whereby we are placing our students with law firms for 2-week placements here in the UAE. Some students are doing more than one placement, but it really gives you that opportunity to get your foot in the door, to impress and secure yourself a job. And of course, I missed out on Model UN Society, but we have a very, very active Model UN Society who are very, very good at what they do, and they've won lots of competitions right here in the UAE. Of course, as everything's changed because of the pandemic, a lot of our teaching and a lot of our initiatives have been moved online. But I'm really proud to say that we've actually been able to continue with all of these initiatives except our visits to international institutions. But actually, normally we have an annual trip to Strasbourg to the European Court of Human Rights, and whilst we could not physically visit the court this year, we were lucky enough to have one of the judges do an online session with us. So they provided us with a tour of the court and did a Q&A session. And these are the judges from the ECHR. We're so lucky that we have connections with them, that they're willing to give us their time. And so that's just my brief overview of Middlesex University Dubai, and I'm more than happy to take any questions that you might have. What's most exciting, I think, is that we're really expanding our program to make sure that we're offering modules, we're offering programs in the most relevant areas, and we're making sure that our students are prepared for international practice. If you have a UK qualifying law degree, you can go on to qualify as a New York attorney. You can go on to qualify in most common law jurisdictions. And very recently, Australia have announced that they'll be accepting UK qualified lawyers without the need for a qualified lawyers transfer scheme. And so it's a really exciting time to be a UK qualified lawyer. So if you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to take them now.
So Sam, yes, there are certain questions, and directly at you. So there is a question from Parul. She is asking how a law student can pursue LLM from foreign university. So what I understand is Parul is studying law from India. Now Parul wants to pursue LLM from a foreign university. So if you can just give some inputs on this. What would be the best areas for future? This absolutely depends on what is your interest, but still, Sam, if you can give some inputs on this.
Thank you very much. I think you can put some inputs as one of our LLM graduates yourself. But I would say again, yes, if you want to pursue an LLM from a foreign university, the best area is what interests you, but also remembering that an LLM is an academic pursuit, and so it's something that you're going to be passionate about. Whilst it will broaden your understanding and it will help you to achieve your career ambitions, it is still another academic qualification, and so you should choose something that aligns with your personal ambitions. Now, at the moment, we have actually had a number of students pursue their LLM directly from India because we offered our course exclusively online. I'm not entirely certain whether or not that will be an option come September, but I do expect it probably will be, given the global position that we find ourselves in. So I can always, what I will do is later I will give some email addresses in the chat box so that you can contact our admissions team, and they can give you all the information that you would need about applying and what admissions criteria there are for our LLM programs.
Okay, thank you, Sam, for taking that question. Another question we have here from Puneet, and Puneet wants to know: do you offer semester exchange program with Indian students? I mean, can a student from an Indian university come here, do an exchange of the semester, and go back?
Thank you for that question. I'm afraid the answer is no. because we have a qualifying law degree, which means that we're regulated by the Solicitors Regulation Authority, as well as the Bar Standards Boards, which are the regulators in the UK. And we therefore cannot do any kind of transfer where we would offer any kind of credits, because they wouldn't be accepted by another university in the same way that we cannot accept credits from other universities. So if you're seeking to pursue a UK law degree, you need to do so from the beginning, because in order to satisfy our regulators, that's what needs to happen. But bearing in mind, a UK qualifying law degree is only a 3-year bachelor's, and so it's a relatively feasible ambition.
Okay, thank you, Sam, for clarifying that as well. One question from Raj. Raj wants to know what keeps your students job ready compared to other students from other universities.
I think the thing that we do best is that we offer these opportunities to bridge academia with practice. We have so many initiatives that we have designed. We're a fairly new program. We only launched, I think, 7 years ago. But in the 7 years that we've actually been active here in Dubai, we've really been able to ensure that we do a huge number of initiatives, and we do so with the industry here. We are the biggest international law firms that have a place here in Dubai, as well as local lawyers, as well as in-house counsel. Our Future Lawyers Network, as I said, is a partnership with Microsoft and with Bird & Bird, which is one of the biggest law firms in the world. And through these initiatives that we offer, we're really bridging the gap between academic study and legal practice.
Thank you, Sam. And to add this, Sam, I know even CMI, our firm is linked to your university, and we've got 2 of our team members. In fact, I mean, just 3 of us are from Middlesex. Myself, I've done my LLM. Jessica, Anushri, so we are all group of students of Middlesex working with CMI. So I think that's fine. We can now move to the next slide, and we'll see if yes. So I'll request Dr. Vijay Singh to join us. As I mentioned, Dr. Singh is a doctorate in law, brings massive amount of experience. Not only in academics, but also holding positions as a deputy director law with the Competition Commission of India. That's a very, very prestigious institution of the government of India. So Dr. Singh, all yours, please, if you can guide our audience on different aspects, different changing, new evolving practice areas in law.
Yeah, thank you, Farhad. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for organizing this particular event, which is on changing landscape of the legal profession. Indeed, the landscape is changing, and we all are witnessing the change which is happening. Let me briefly tell you about the university. UPS is a state, private university enacted by the state legislature, graded A by NAC. And the university has received 5-star employability in placement academic development program. And the unique feature of the university is that we are industry aligned with specialized programs. And we are a university with 7 schools, ranging from School of Engineering, School of Computer Science, Design, Law, Business, Health Sciences. And we also have a modern media, which we began last year. And given its industry-oriented programs and emphasis on holistic development, basically we are the preferred choice for a lot of recruiters. And that is evident by way of the kind of the graduate outcomes which we give. And recently we were awarded by ASSOCHAM for this effort. This is about the university. Now, coming back to the topic, and when I was approached by CMI to take a session and speak on this aspect, I chose to select a topic on shaping Gen X legal professionals. I call them Gen X legal professionals because this is what they are. Now, the young professionals who will enter the profession have several challenges. We have seen last 2 years have been a rock and roll for everybody. But this has also opened several opportunities, including an opportunity to do an LLM sitting at your home, right? Which Samantha just now mentioned. So it is quite interesting times, but at the same time, this brings us forward to a very important question, that what exactly legal professionals need to focus upon, and how do you move forward? To this, I believe there is a knowledge, skill, and attitude framework which we have in our curriculum. So our curriculum is designed around KSA. And I believe that this brings forward the lifelong learning skills which is required for a legal professional. And if I may like to enumerate these particular skills and attitude, because knowledge is something which is to be gained constantly, and there is always a pursuit of knowledge. I believe no lawyer is there in this world who doesn't acquire knowledge every day. And that is what is the profession entails us. So that kind of an effort is always required. But in addition to that particular effort, there is also a requirement of focus on skills and attitude. And I bifurcate them into 4 important topics. One is critical thinking, the other is being resourceful, and third is communication, and fourth is teamwork. I will address them briefly. The first one, which I say critical thinking, is the core of a successful lawyer and a legal professional, particularly when you are talking about the present generation or present situation wherein legal professionals are required to be very, very dynamic. And it is not only about critical thinking, it is about being solution oriented. So one has to display and apply their diagnostic, analytical, and professional attitude with critical thinking, and try to formulate and find out solutions, appropriate solutions for their clients, for their society, if you are a researcher, for the research community. So it is very, very important to bring that critical skill. How does that come is something which is the job of us professors in the law schools, which we do. Samantha has also spoken about that practical aspect as to how it is very important to bring in that practical aspect into the curriculum. So one has to look at the curriculum, that whether it has got that sufficient amount of practicality into it or not, whether the graduate outcomes have the mechanism to bring this practical dimension or practical training into the legal curriculum or not. Next one is resourcefulness. Now, we live in an age wherein everything will not come on your platter. So things have to be resourced. You need to have that particular mind mapping skill wherein you source data independently, you try to synthesize information, you apply your legal research skills, because every day there will be a new problem, and it is not necessary that you must have read that particular law. So you need to be resourceful, you need to be agile to find that particular information and give solution to your clients. Thirdly, communication forms a very important piece as far as our profession goes. So any legal professional has to work on communication skills, more so when we are going global. So it is not only about one language, but probably one has to move on and learn few more languages. And it is very, very important for us to have and look at that particular dimension. Communication, I find that while speaking skills are good with the law professionals, sometimes the writing skills requires a different kind of an orientation, because we don't write in normal English, it is legal English. And I believe there is a sufficient amount of attention which is required on that dimension, that piece, because a successful lawyer and a very successful lawyer gets differentiated by these two things: the wit which he has, the way he speaks, and the way he writes or she writes. So this is something which is very, very crucial for Gen X legal professionals to pay attention at. And I must tell you that nobody is a born, communicator. One learns, and everybody would know that when a child is born, it doesn't know how to speak. But over the years, you acquire this particular skill, and there is no age bar for acquiring new skills as far as communication is concerned. Lastly, which I want to focus is teamwork. And I believe nobody works independently nowadays, particularly when you are in an online environment. There is a huge amount of collaboration required between few teams, IT team, this team, that team. And it is very, very important for you to learn independent, be cooperative, be collaborative in these situations. And have strong work ethics with integrity and values associated with legal profession in the industry. So it is very, very important for us to have that particular these four things which I spoke about: critical thinking, resourcefulness, communication, and teamwork. This basically is the required focus by each one. In addition to this, I think resilience plays a very important role, and ultimately one has to look at the big picture. So you don't have to crib about small things, and look at the big picture which is out there. Now, point is that how law schools contribute to this, or how legal education contributes to this, or for that particular matter, how the legal professionals contribute to this. Because after this, Mr. Gaurav will be speaking up on his perspective on industry. And point is that the training starts from the law college and university itself, and that is done by way of multiple occasions and opportunities which students get. So point is that students have to encash that particular opportunity. Not only this, nowadays we are talking about continuing legal education. So in India, Bar Council has now started with the continuing legal education, wherein the lawyers, the young lawyers, would have to also undergo some training and get the credits which is required. I'm sure similar kind of a system across the world, where they have to update their knowledge, because our profession is something which requires an updation of a knowledge, which needs to be accredited, and then thereafter a certificate need to be issued. So that requires to be nurtured by the legal professionals. So you have to continuously acquire new knowledge, in particular when you are in the age of digitization, and there are new technologies coming up: artificial intelligence, blockchain, cryptocurrency. Now, someone may say, a constitutional lawyer, that doesn't affect me, but if you are arguing a privacy matter in the court, probably you have to explain to the judge that what is the problem with cryptocurrency, or maybe for that matter, Facebook and WhatsApps of the world. So it is very, very important to be dynamic, and that dynamism comes when you engage yourselves with a number of initiatives which is there in your college. And even when you join the profession in the initial days, it is very, very important for you to engage into these activities. Many a times, what happens, Farhat, is that we forget about our hobbies and our life. So that particular balance is also important. So I believe the times are a bit tough, which requires you a bit of a recreation space as well. And it is very, very important to create one for yourself. So that is very, very important. So this is what is from my side. I would be happy to answer questions, because I believe monologue is not the way which we planned. So it is better to take some questions and answer.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. That was very, very insightful. Yes, there are certain questions. I would see. So one question that I also have in mind, and I was going through, the website of educational institutions. A lot of new programs have now evolved. I see that there is a course BTech LLB. There is a course BBA LLB. There is a course B-Commerce LLB. So these combinations, these new mechanisms of creating technical education with law, commerce education with law, how does it benefit to students? I mean, if you can give some inputs on this, please.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, Farhat. So basically, see, it all started with Bar Council coming up with the integrated program. So I'm talking about India. And basically, it is a 5-year integrated program it all started with. And the idea was that, see, someone who is focused towards legal profession, there is no point that particular person goes to do a graduation for 3 years and then again does an LLB for 3 years. This was the pattern or model, 3+3, for getting an law degree in India before. But when this integrated system came up, the objective and idea was that a course can be curated wherein there is a 2 years of non-law, basically the first undergraduate, and then thereafter 3 years focused specifically on the legal part of it. And that is how this 5-year integrated course has come up. Now, the several other integrations like BBA, BBA, and BCom is based on the base degree, because at the school level, there are students who will be doing arts, there are students who will be doing commerce, there are students who will be engaged into the commercial field. So this basically is intended to bring those particular students and give them an option so that they don't suddenly find themselves into a difficult water. So that is the objective and rationale to begin with. But say, for example, one is offering a course, BBA LLB honors program. And this BBA LLB guy studies what? Organizational behavior, marketing management, commercial subjects. So probably this is the person who is best suited to, do an honors in corporate law, maybe international finance. So this is the combination, how it works. BTech LLB, I will tell you, is a unique combination, which I think is run only in UPES. And when we began with this particular program, basically we started with an energy focus. If you would know, our name also reflects that. Over a period, we have diversified ourselves because of the demand of the society, which requires us to bring up new courses and new programs. Now, BTech LLB, when we started, the idea was that there is a requirement of technology lawyers. And these technology lawyers, not only for the namesake, but they should actually know technology. And that is how we clubbed this 4-year BTech course and 3-year LLB. And that is how it is a 6-year BTech LLB program offered in cyber law and IPR. So idea is that they are taught computer science. So they are completely programmers and coders. At the same time, they know that where constitution applies, where administrative law applies, where information technology law applies. So probably this is a good combination. And I can tell you, and it is quite an interesting one, that this program has the maximum number of placements. So I think every year this oversells. So this is how that particular program is.
So traditionally, law was, basically, one has to be only a graduate in arts and,
Exactly.
Law.
So it was, yeah.
But
so
this is very
traditionally in India, this was a profession which people used to choose, at the last. Because mostly people will target to become an engineer or a doctor. Nobody wanted to become a lawyer.
Correct.
But this 5-year program has changed this scenario, and
the dynamics of legal practice.
Yeah. So now there is a completely changed scenario. Now legal profession is moving around, and that offers a lot of career opportunities to people not only in India but also abroad. And that is how we see thousands of students doing LLM abroad. Either you go in US, UK, now Dubai. So there are plenty of Indians doing their.
So one more question I'll take for you, Dr. Singh. I mean, what do you think? There's a question from Sneda, and she's saying that she's asking that at what stage should a student start focusing and start building skills, towards the actual practice area or field, or how would they want to develop their career?
That's a very good question, Snida, and thank you for that. And see, what happens is we have started since last year. We came up with a new school, which is a cross-cutting school in our university that is called School for Life. And we feel that it is the moment a student joins the university has to focus on School for Life. Why? Because it is very important to teach young professionals about how to lead their life better. Once they learn that, that is called lifelong learning skills, probably they will be successful everywhere. So that includes even internships. So this year we did a social internship for our all first year students, and we arranged for NGOs where they will be going and doing the social internship. What is the objective? Objective is twofold. One objective is that it meets the requirement of the UGC, which is our education regulator, which has also, by the way, come up with a national education policy. If time permits, I would like to throw some light on that also at the end. But that is one part. Otherwise, I believe as soon as the student joins the university, there has to be a plan which has to be carved out by the student himself about the goal. That what do you do? When I interview as a dean, my first semester students, I ask them this particular question. You got admitted in 2020, in 2025, where do you see yourself? And that is how backward integration and backward planning you have to do, because you have to plan your internships accordingly. You have to, think that whether joining an ADR association will make sense or joining a moot court association will make sense for you. So, or Society of Law and Literature. So this is a very important decision which students have to make. And throughout their law degree, they have to, work upon this, realign their goals and do the work. However, at the same time, I always keep emphasizing that don't lose the focus also that you are a student, enjoy. That is also important.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. That was very, very helpful, very, very insightful. So next we have with us Gaurav, Mr. Gaurav Mendiratta from Marico India Limited. Gaurav has more than 21 years of experience in legal and compliance of various corporate industries and is now heading the legal department for one of leading India's consumer products company. Gaurav, please, if you can, guide the audience, the students, the young professionals of law, what different areas they should be looking at in terms of developing their career in the corporate sector or even otherwise. Please, all yours. Gaurav, I think you're on mute. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, clear.
Okay. So you were not able to hear anything that I said, right? Hello?
No.
Okay. So let me start by thanking Farhat and CMI for inviting me. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Dr. Singh, for the talk that you just gave. From academics, let's go to practice. What I'll do basically is talk about what are the various areas you can expect to see given the regulatory environment that is changing and that is fast changing in India. What are the possible areas that you can look at in terms of practice of law? And this is really, this slide is really the sum and substance of the last 20 years of work that I have done in the FMCG industry. FMCG, as you all know, is the fast moving consumer good. I was with HUL for 17 years, Hindustan Unilever Limited, which is a subsidiary of Unilever in India. And last 3.5 years, I have been the general counsel for Marico. Now, in terms of practice areas, let me start from the left-hand side, the one which is the closest to me, which is advocacy and public policy. Now, many times when we are working, there are legislations which get framed, or there are old legislations which could really be, causing encumbrances and disruptions for the business. And one thing that organizations do is work very closely with the governments and the regulators to see what and how these changes can happen. We talk about Make in India and the ease of doing business in India. I think advocacy is one area which can really work very well, in the space of ease of doing business. Just to give you a couple of examples very quickly, legal metrology is a law. Any product that you pick up, any packaged commodity that you pick up, you will find several declarations of that. Most of them are governed by the legal metrology law. And it has very draconian provisions in India. You could get criminally prosecuted even if there is a small label declaration error that is there. We are canvassing with the government for the last 3 years now, seeking that there should be decriminalization of the law. If anything, it should be just fines. And we have benchmarked with the laws of the whole world to be able to demonstrate to the government that India is the only country in the world today where this law entails criminal prosecution. Thankfully, after 3 years of hard work, the government has accepted. There's a draft paper out which recognizes this, which is on the internet. And we are hoping that in this year, we'll be able to, through industry engagement, through the regulator engagement, we have personally gone and made 2 presentations to the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, under which this law comes. So we are hopeful that we'll be able to see a change in the legislation. And that's one bit of work that we are able to do. The second one that I remember quickly is the whole COVID space. When COVID happened and the industries got shut in the first wave, we were certainly impacted. In the first 20 days, our businesses were shut, our factories were asked to be shut, and slowly the government started opening up. And when the definition of essentials came in, they said grocery. What they did not say was hygiene. Now, again, this required a lot of deliberations with the government, exchange with the regulator, and be able to push through the word hygiene again. So when you now see grocery as an essential item, it also has hygiene, and therefore that's how you take these baby steps into seeking to change the legislative policies, etc., that come your way. Compliance is the second one, and that's a very large area. If you see, one factory, if you're running in India, it would require approximately 75 laws which have to be complied with. And I'm just giving you a back of the envelope number. And approximately 1,100 tasks that have to be performed in a year just to say compliant. Now, nobody in India can say that we are 100% compliant, because the number of laws is just large, too large. But what we do, and we do this through a very effective IT tool, and therefore that's how the law and the IT plays its own part. There are a few organizations in India who provide end-to-end IT tools for these jobs. But it's not just that, it's also training of our people, capability building, and making sure that each one of those 1,000 tasks are performed, or 1,100 tasks are performed in a year. Something as innocuous, because most of our factories have an Indian flag right on top. Even that flag's dimensions have to be as per a legislation in India. Now, I'm just saying that it may have absolutely nothing to do with your factory operations, and there are so many different laws, Factories Act, Contract Labor Act, and so on and so forth, that you have to comply with. But something as innocuous as that could lead to a prosecution in the country. And I say it all with having experienced something or the other in these spaces as well. The third one, just talking about compliance and continuing, since I come from the FMCG sector and it's all about foods and personal care and so on, every single product that goes out into the market is governed by either the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, if it is a cosmetic product, or an Ayurvedic proprietary medicine or an Ayurvedic product, or it would be governed by the Food Safety and Standards Law. Again, right from the time you formulate a product, which means what goes into the product has to be as per the standard which is prescribed by law, to what kind of claims we are making, because these claims today are looked at very closely by the Advertising Standard Council of India, by the CCPA, which is the Consumer Regulatory Authority, which has gotten formed a couple of years back. So these are areas that we have to be very conscious of, and this requires continuous understanding and updation of all these legislations and several regulations which keep coming every year. IP, I think it's a very favorite subject of a lot of students. As an organization, we would have around 2,500 trademarks, right? And that doesn't mean we have 2,500 brands, but each brand would have labels, words, devices, and so on and so forth, which you have to continue to register all the time. Then the whole management of that IP, and making sure that every single product that's going out, you're doing proper checks of those. They are not violating anybody else's IP, and therefore a full-fledged trademark search happens. We look at labels of competitors just to make sure that we are not close, and if anybody else comes close, we will be equal to the task. A Parachute coconut oil bottle, if some of you have heard of it, is blue in color. Now, we did a survey and we found that there are 600 blue bottles which sell coconut oil in India. But we cannot enforce our IP rights against all of those, because we cannot claim monopoly over a blue color. What we do claim monopoly is the essential features on those, the flag device, the broken coconuts, etc. So each of those elements we have registered, and that's how we try and do that. And there's a separate team whose day job it is to combat unfair competition. I have got 5 people in my team, because we are an FMCG and because we are so highly counterfeited by people. That's, I think, a job we do. We've done a very interesting project where we have almost done a full backward integration. We have picked up counterfeits from the scrapyards, because that's where it was getting sold to the counterfeiters. We have bought it from them. We have scrapped them. We have shredded them, converted into bottles, and again we have started selling that in the market, using genuine oil. Otherwise, it was all fake oil that was going into the market. So I think that's a big project that we have done. But again, just an example of the kind of work that we do in the IP space, both on the side of prosecution and on the side of combating unfair competition, where you go against people who are counterfeiting and producing lookalike products in the market. Competition law, I have an expert on the panel. but we are again a company which has a very large presence in India, and in some of the categories that we operate in, we are either number one or number two, which means that we are in a dominant position. When you are in a dominant position, you have to make sure that you're not abusing the dominant position and causing appreciable adverse effect on the competition. Now, it can play out in two ways. One could be in the form of cartels that you could have. And I think we are very conscious. We have a very strong competition law policy, compliance policy, and where we train our people regularly about what are the things that we need to be conscious of when we are going in trade associations and engaging. We cannot talk about price. We cannot talk about supplies. Those are areas which are absolutely no-go, because that's where allegations of cartels could come. But what is the bane of FMCG really is the relationship between the companies and its distributors, because vertically, if there are any restraints being put or any restrictive practices being carried out, those itself can become areas of concern. So we have a full-fledged competition law compliance program that we carry out, which takes care of, right from interviewing our people, understanding what are the red flag areas for us in terms of engagement with our distributors or engagement with the competitors, engagement in industry associations, and then doing a training program for our people to educate them on what are the right things to do. The last one, it's still a little nascent, very hot in the Western world, but in India, the law is still to come, which is data privacy. We've already started our work, of course, baby steps at this stage, just to understand what is the overall landscape of data that is sitting in the organization. Once we are able to establish that, and we have today not just the regular, old ways in which the data comes in, that is through the employees, etc. Today we have direct-to-consumer sites, websites which are there, where consumers are directly logging in and buying products, and therefore we are collecting consumer data there. What should be the right behavior there that we demonstrate? Are we taking consents? Are we taking information which is required? Is that information getting passed on to somebody? Is that information sitting with a data processor? And therefore, what contracts do I have with the data processor? All of those areas, I think, as an in-house counsel, me and my team look at very, very closely. The third critical area is the corporate governance. I think, again, something which is very close to my heart. I have been blessed to work with organizations where honesty and integrity has been the unwritten rule. And code of conduct, when I say, there are three simple things. You need to be ensuring that there is financial integrity in the system. There is business integrity in how we deal. We do not take bribes. We do not pay bribes. We do not harass. And that's where the whole POSH bit comes in. POSH, as you know, is the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act. It's a newer act in India, but there is a lot of impetus in it. And the organizations can face prosecution if they don't deal with these situations properly. And insider trading. So these are, since mine is a listed company, I sit on the insider trading committee as well. And we look at periodically issues where people have traded in Marico shares, while possessing data or during the prohibited period. Those are areas that we look at very closely. The fourth one, of course, is M&A, another area which is very close to my heart. It can really give the organizations the impetus that they need to capture, greater market share and to really grow inorganically. While of course the finance guys lead the M&A projects, lawyers play a very, very critical role, right from the stage of due diligence to identify what are the IP issues, what are the real estate issues, what are the employment related issues with the target entity, to start to working on the transaction documents very closely with the external firms if we hire them. In some cases, you do go to specialists outside, like Farhat. So those are areas that we look at very closely. When you look at a transaction document, what are the exit clauses? I think that's the most important. What are the representations and warranties that we are giving? What are the CPs? What are the condition precedents? Between the execution date and the log stop date. I think those are the areas that we look at very closely when we are dealing with the target entity. So that's really about M&A. Litigation management, yes, it is important. While in many cases it gets outsourced. From me, my role as in-house counsel is to make sure that I am able to provide the best possible inputs to the firm which is taking care of that case. Good facts make good law. I think that was something which was drilled into me by my mentors very early in my life. And we have to make sure that we are in possession of the right facts. We understand the law which applies to those facts, and those inputs are very important to be given to the external firms which are handling these cases. While high courts and Supreme Courts, we of course do not practice, but before regulators and before the government, there is enough and more opportunities that in-house people get, where we get a chance to go and argue our cases. Another place where we argue regularly are places like Advertising Standard Council of India, which determine whether our ads are extremely exaggerated and misleading or not. CCPA again is another place where we are, in fullness of time, we will get a chance to go and argue as and when cases come up. So I think broadly those are the areas that, as in-house people, we have worked. So I'll take a pause here. I'm conscious of the time, and I'll leave the floor open for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Gaurav. That was very, very insightful. Yes, there are certain questions which, could be best answered by you. So one, Raj is asking that how, as a GC, your team needs to become more specialized to reduce the reliance on external counsel. So which you've already answered here.
Yeah.
But do you, are there other mechanisms where, companies focus on avoiding litigations, not going to the courts, and develop mechanisms where matters could be resolved, other than going to the courts?
So I'll give you first, let me answer the second question first. There are today mechanisms, and I would say not just arbitration. There are opportunities to mediate. There are mediators who are there today who are willing to step in, and I did something like that. We had our biggest real estate dispute, which we have given to a very, very renowned mediator in India. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed as I say this, we are on the verge of seeking a settlement, something that I would never have hoped through the process of the courts. It could have taken anything upwards of 10 years for this case to conclude, because it was a long, long pending dispute, almost 17, 18 years in the making. And to get those 5 partners together to sort of come together and settle is something that was unheard of. We are very close, and I'm really hopeful. So as I said, there are other opportunities. There is mediation. Instead of filing cases and going to courts, there are opportunities to give cease and desist notice and engage directly with the counterfeiters and lookalike guys. So that's, I think, something that we are doing. In terms of creating capability within the team, we divide the team as per the portfolios, and people get real life experience of handling those cases. We do pathshalas where we invite external lawyers like Farhat and several others to come and talk to us and educate us on the newer areas of laws that are developing. But for me, the best learning is when you are handling the matter yourself. You handle 5 matters yourself on that particular vertical, and that's how we keep doing job rotation within the team. Each team member gets to do that job for about 2 to 2.5 to 3 years tops, after which you move to the next role. And that's how my career has progressed. If you just look at my profile on the LinkedIn, very simply, it says I did a generalist role of a regional legal manager in Hindustan Unilever. After that, I handled foods for 3 years. So 3 years of only Food Safety Standards Act and Legal Metrology Act. 2 years of only labor laws, because it was a supply chain role and we used to look at factories, and we rationalized a few factories. We shut down a few factories. I faced a strike during that period. So just labor laws and environment laws during those times. And then finally the CD role, which was for me a leadership role. When I say the sales, because we had the maximum number of people, almost 35 people, I think it's so important. If you aspire to become a GC, how do you handle the matters and how do you handle the people? Both those things go hand in hand, and it's so important that you do both those things right if you really aspire to become the GC.
Thank you, Gaurav. One last question I'll take from Anil, as I understand from his question, is that what skills can we develop with the corporate businesses? So what I understand is, maybe he's trying to ask is that what would be the best area for young, law graduates or legal professionals to focus on, which will help them a better placement opportunity with corporates. So whether it could be focusing more on, contracts, whether litigation, whether any form of compliances or specialization like GDPR, AI, tech, something.
I would say first, look at a good mix of internships. It should be a very healthy mix of a law firm, litigation, and corporates. If you can get all 3, you would be fairly clear by the end of the 5th year what is it that you're looking at. Because by that time, you would have dabbled with everything and you know exactly what your port of call is. Having said so, there are today areas for organizations. I think areas like competition law, areas like data privacy, IP, these are hot areas, and M&A. These are hot areas, and if I know that a person has done internships in some of these areas at some of the better law firms, I would certainly be interested in looking at that CV and meeting the candidate, right? So I think that's clearly
yes,
what I would
clear.
want to sort of conclude on. Yeah.
Thank you, Gaurav. One point that was here from Jay. He's saying, please send PPT to email of everyone. So this, this presentation, this webinar will be uploaded on the website, and it will be, you can just view whenever. I'll move to the next slide to just conclude how exactly, what we are assisting. How Century Maxim is assisting clients across different countries, different jurisdictions. We have tried to, create a platform where we provide solutions from a country to country for companies engaged in trade in the Middle East and operating out of India. We facilitate them what could be the legal practices here, what compliances are required here, what kind of contract management system that exists here, what is the litigation procedures here, and if there is any assistance required for matters of litigation dispute that they may have. Century Maxim has worked very differently with law firms, through network of law firms, assisting companies, helping them reduce their legal costs, bring solutions at a very, very affordable manner. We do a lot of research on regulatory and compliance requirements in different countries. So if a company would want to operate their manufacturing units out of the Middle East, what kind of compliances would they need? What kind of approvals, permissions, whether from the environmental department, whether from municipality, whether from land department, would be required. So this is how Century Maxim is focusing on to develop a very niche and focused practice areas, offering to its clients and corporates, and helping the team develop in different areas. If I have to, give some inputs on what could be the best mechanisms of enhancing your skill, yes, communication, teamwork, a lot of focus must be there on how you communicate, how you present your research, your work, what kind of assessment are you able to do of a matter, what certifications, what internships, as Gaurav just mentioned, as a student of law, one would have taken, what seminars, what the other different formats of legal workshops has one attended and conducted. So these are the major look out for law firms, for legal consultancy firms, or in-house legal counsels when they advise students moving towards a professional life. So one has to focus more on new developing areas particularly. This is something which is basically the base concept of this webinar today, how there has been a transition in the past 20 years. As I mentioned in the beginning, it was conventionally a civil, criminal, constitutional, property and family law practice. The specializations existed those times was, whether a lawyer was a tax lawyer or whether a lawyer was a corporate lawyer, but that was very, very minimal in number. In the 2000s, we got new areas that developed, new laws were being enacted by different jurisdictions, whether on arbitration, whether rules and regulations came up. Different international arbitration centers were set up. Tax structures of different countries, came up in practice by companies engaged in cross-border transaction. Environmental matters became an international, under international standards, and then of course, the IPR, the intellectual properties that picked up for firms to practice at global level. Now, what we see, we've got a lot of more areas which have come up where lawyers have become super specialized. So if I would say that, I need a lawyer in contracts, Maybe a super specialized lawyer I would look at is whether you're practicing more, whether that lawyer is doing a lot of franchise contracts, a lot of M&A contracts, a lot of shareholding documents. So what is that exclusive area within contracts that lawyer would be engaged into? Certain new areas have developed, which is lawyers getting involved in investigating or handling matters related to white collar crimes, economic offences, forensics of frauds that may have been taken place in companies or in financial matters. And of course, real estate that has come across now. Sports is another thing that is developed, where a lot of regulations are being brought in place for and disciplines and codes for different sports societies under which they must function. These are certain super specialized practice areas that I would want the audience to give some attention. AI is now picking up area. It's very, very hot. GDPR, data protection, as introduced by the European Union in 2018, is now growing significance across territories. AML is another topic which is not much discussed in India or other, within corporates, but very, very aggressively picking up in this part of the world and the European Union and UK, where law firms are required to make mandatory declarations in compliance to AML. Renewable energy, financial capital and markets, trading in securities, trading in financial derivatives, products, structured products, what compliances are required there. So these are the main areas what young lawyers should look at. I would share one personal experience here. 20 years ago when I was studying law, I had only civil and criminal and taxation law to pick up a career as. Unfortunately, the school of law that I went to, it was not a premier category institute. So a lot of companies, they used to reject me, that, okay, we're looking for candidates only from premier institutes. And I never got the opportunity to meet the head of legal or general counsel for an interview. The moment, very rarely, occasionally, if I got one opportunity, I used to do a background research of that company. So let's say if that company is in telecom or food or whatever business it is into, then I used to do a background research on what would be the major legal problems this company would have been facing now. And if it was telecom or if it was consumer products, then obviously there must be large volume of consumer matters. So I used to be prepared on that. Or there could be large volume of criminal matters that the company may be facing. So you have to identify the new business challenge that a company may be going through and identify the law that applies on it. So if a company is into financial markets, whether there could be a concern of GDPR, whether there could be concern of AML, whether there could be concern of regulatory requirements with different financial institutions, authorities. So so a law student, a young legal professional may focus on these matters. So this is from my side. If there's any question to me, more than happy to answer. I think we had a very good time explaining the different landscapes of how legal practices has evolved in the past 15-20 years. So I think there was one previous slide, sorry. So as a young legal professional, you can look at being an in-house counsel, go into litigation before the courts, join law firms, get into academia, judiciary, government. The others are fine. Academia, I was always very scared of because you can't make a mistake here. As lawyers, you can always make mistakes and get away with disclaimers. Anyways, so question and answers we've already answered. Let me see if there are any specific questions here. Okay, so there is Antara Das. So Marico and CMI looks for a healthy mix of internships in the legal, as a legal intern. Are there specific skills law students should develop? during COVID-19 to aid the job selection process? No, I mean, as long as you're studying law, you pick up a topic of your interest. If that topic of your interest would be within our practice area, we're definitely happy to take an application from your side, and as and when there would be an opportunity, we take interns. So CMI, we have a regular inflow on a monthly basis, interns coming in and taking their experiences with us. Yes, please.
Can I just add one skill, if you don't mind?
Yes,
and this is something that I always notice, and I must talk about it. I get a lot of people who are good thinkers, and it's very important to be able to think right, to be able to ideate right. What most people, and no, I shouldn't say most people, but what separates the two people is, for me, the ability to execute. In the corporate world, once you have ideated, you must be able to execute it within the certain timelines. And that's, for me, something that I always look, that spark, that right attitude in the trainees and the employees that we have. Because I always believe ideation without execution is delusion. So please make sure that you develop that ability to not just ideate, but also execute.
Thank you, Gaurav. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Samantha. Any input, Sam, if you can give, Dr. Singh?
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that studying law is an opportunity to develop a number of transferable skills, and institutions, whether they're in India, whether they're here in Dubai, whether they're in the UK, are offering opportunities for you to build skills to bridge the gap between academic study and legal practice. And the best and most successful students are the ones who take advantage of those opportunities. They're the ones that utilize their time, not just in the library studying, but doing all of the other extracurricular activities that help you to develop your skills, and undertaking even short unpaid internships that enable you to develop the skills to understand what legal practice is all about.
Yeah, well said. I think, Gaurav, I completely agree with your point which you made about execution, because a lot of people have this ideation, a lot of ideation on paper, but when it comes to execution, there is a huge challenge. So it is very, very important point for everybody. In fact, in all walks of life, this mantra is very, very important mantra. As far as the law professionals and legal profession is concerned, I can only say that exciting times are ahead, and this profession is going to grow. So it is like yet not reached that peak which has happened with other professionals. Health and law, these are the two things which are going to grow further. And all the best to everyone, and thank you for joining in for this particular program. Again, I would like to thank CMI for organizing this. It was a pleasure interacting with you all, and it is good to know everybody and new connections made. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Dr. Singh.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your participation in this webinar and look forward to have more like this.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.